I am the owner of this house. My name is Chloe, and I'm a recently graduated accountant. This story happened around that time when I was looking for a part-time job to make some extra money. I found an ad on Craigslist. It was beautifully written, describing a couple who had just returned from Europe and were opening a coffee workshop, a space that was part cafe, part hands-on experience, where customers could learn to brew their own coffee and bake pastries. They were looking for a dedicated server for the 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. shift, and the pay they offered was excellent. I thought to myself, anyone who could write such a heartfelt ad must be a good person. I called the number and was invited for an interview. The coffee shop was located in a beautiful classic brownstone in Brooklyn Heights, New York. When I arrived, I met the owners, Julian and Isabella. They had only been leasing the house for about a week and were still in the middle of renovations. At first, I was a bit disappointed, thinking the job wouldn't start for at least another month, and I needed work immediately. But as we talked, I was captivated by their passion and modern way of thinking. They were a young, sophisticated couple, probably in their early 30s. "If you need work right away," Julian offered, "you can start now. Help us clean up and decorate the place. We'll pay you immediately, at an even higher rate than a server's." I accepted on the spot. In the beginning, it was just the three of us. Julian and Isabella were the perfect couple. They were affectionate and understood each other so well that a single glance was all they needed to communicate. I deeply admired them and quickly came to feel like part of the family. Their main task was to hunt for antique furniture to match the brownstone's classic soul. They'd spend their days at flea markets and antique shops, leaving me alone in the large house to clean. And that's when the strange things started happening. The house had a ground floor and 2 upper levels. The ground floor was the cafe, the first floor was the workshop, and the second floor was their private residence and storage. Sometimes, while I was cleaning on the first floor, I would hear the distinct click-clack of high heels on the wooden staircase. Thinking Isabella had returned, I'd rush out to see if she needed help, but the staircase would be empty and the sound would vanish. "Isabella, are you home?" I'd call out. Only the echo of my own voice would answer. Half an hour later, the couple would pull up in their car, unloading a new batch of antiques. Another time, while on the ground floor, I heard a door on the second floor creak open and then slam shut with a bang that seemed to shake the whole house. When I went up to check, all the doors were closed. Occasionally, I would even hear faint whispering voices from upstairs. It was unsettling, but I stayed. I admired Julian and Isabella so much and wanted to learn from them. Finally, the workshop opened. A few new employees were hired, but just a week after the grand opening, Isabella changed completely. The warm, lovely woman I knew was gone. In her place was a cold, sullen person who would lash out at the staff over the smallest things. But the biggest change was that she almost never came downstairs anymore. She locked herself away in their private rooms on the second floor. All the work of running the business fell on Julian's shoulders. He looked visibly tired and sad. The paranormal activities also became more frequent. One evening, as we staff were taking a break, a new waitress who was facing the staircase suddenly gasped, "Hey, get back to work. The boss is watching." We all jumped up, pretending to be busy. I glanced up at the staircase but saw no one. The new girl insisted. I swear I just saw her sitting on the spiral staircase up there, looking down at us. Just then, Julian's car pulled up, with Isabella in the passenger seat. They were just getting home from an outing, their faces tense as if they'd been arguing. This meant that the person my coworker saw on the stairs was not Isabella. That waitress quit the next day. Within a month, all of the original staff had left. The strangeness continued. The stockboy complained that supplies in the storeroom, like plastic cups and straws, were being tampered with. A few days later, we found dozens of cups, straws, and plastic spoons stuffed into a hidden corner of the storeroom, as if someone had been playing with them. The most terrifying event happened with a regular customer. Her name was Eleanor, a middle-aged American woman who had lived in Europe for years. She loved the workshop concept and came in almost every day. One evening, the ground floor cafe was particularly busy. Eleanor told us to go ahead and serve the customers downstairs. She was comfortable making her own coffee and cake in the upstairs workshop by herself. About an hour later, when things had quieted down, we heard Eleanor's panicked voice calling from upstairs. "Chloe! Chloe, can you hear me? Can you come up here and help me down?" I rushed upstairs. I found Eleanor standing in the middle of the room, clutching her chest, breathing heavily, her face pale with fright. Once she had calmed down, she told me her story, her voice trembling. She said that after she finished baking, she intended to bring her creations downstairs to share with us. But strangely, she couldn't find the staircase leading down. The room seemed to have become a maze. The only staircase she could find was the one leading up to the owner's private second floor. Thinking the owner's wife might be up there, she decided to go up and ask for help. She found a bedroom door slightly ajar. Peeking inside, she saw a young woman sitting at an antique vanity, her back to the door. Eleanor could only see the woman's face in the reflection of the old clouded mirror. It was the same figure my former coworker had seen on the stairs. Eleanor politely asked for help finding her way down. She said the reflection of the young woman in the mirror looked at her and smiled. A sweet voice echoed in the room. "Let me show you the way. I'm the owner of this house." Relieved, Eleanor thanked her. The woman stood up and turned around. And in that moment, Eleanor's relief turned to sheer horror. The face in the mirror and the face in reality belonged to two different people. The face in the mirror was that of a beautiful young woman, but the face that was now turning to look directly at her was the face of Isabella, Julian's wife. But it wasn't the Isabella she knew. Her eyes were closed, and her face was contorted in a silent weeping expression. One body, two faces. One belonged to the ghost of the house's owner, the other to the owner of the coffee shop. Eleanor was so terrified, she turned and ran. But she was still lost in the invisible maze until she heard my voice calling out to her. Only then did the path to the staircase seem to reappear. After that night, she never came back. I told Julian everything. With a heavy heart, he confessed to me that his wife had changed completely since they moved into the house. He'd often hear her talking in her sleep, but in a perfect, standard American accent, without the faint European lilt she normally had from living abroad for so long. Her taste in food had changed. He didn't believe in ghosts, but he couldn't explain what was happening to his wife. After Eleanor's experience, I quit. A few months later, I contacted Julian through Facebook. He gave me the sad news. The workshop had closed and they had moved back to Paris. He told me that Isabella's condition had gotten much worse. The ghost's possession had become almost total. Sometimes it would speak through her, claiming to be the owner of the house and demanding they get out. The business failed, their money ran out, and he had to use a family emergency as an excuse to get Isabella to leave the country. He said that even after they returned to Paris, she was still lost and confused for weeks. He had to take her to church constantly for prayers and blessings. Slowly, she began to return to her old self, and the last thing he told me sent a chill down my spine. One day, when she had fully recovered, Isabella turned to him and asked, "Julian, why did we close the workshop? I remember we had just opened. Why are we suddenly back in Paris?" His wife, Isabella, had no memory of the nearly 6 months they had spent in that haunted Brooklyn brownstone. For her, that entire period was just a blurry dream lasting a few weeks. She had no idea that while she was lost in that fog, a ghost had been living her life, destroying the dream they had spent 10 years building together. The ghost was in love with me. My name is Noah. This happened a few years ago on a trip that was supposed to be a fun getaway but turned into a nightmare instead. It was my junior year of college. My group of friends was basically split into 2 camps, the couples and the single guys. Me and my best friend Leo were in the second camp. For spring break that year, we all decided on a road trip. There were 6 of us in total, me and Leo and 2 couples, Ethan and his girlfriend Chloe, and Liam and his girlfriend Maya. The plan was simple: drive up to the Catskill Mountains in New York, get some fresh air, and escape the city for a few days. Originally, we were going to book a normal hotel in one of the main towns. But as we were driving up, about half an hour from our destination, Chloe, Ethan's girlfriend, suddenly shouted. Chloe was the romantic type, always looking for something unique and aesthetic. She'd been scrolling through Airbnb and found a secluded cabin deep in the woods. "Oh my God, you guys, look at this," she said, holding up her phone. "It's a genuine log cabin. It has a yard, a BBQ pit. It looks like something out of a movie. Can we please stay here?" At first, the guys were against it. Staying somewhere so remote would be inconvenient, but Chloe insisted. And when we saw how cheap the rental was, we all eventually agreed. We called and booked it right then and there. That was our first mistake. As we followed the GPS directions, the roads became more and more deserted. The cabin was at the end of a small, unpaved lane, hidden behind a thick grove of trees. I had to admit, though, it was beautiful, just like in the pictures. The owner, an older woman, was very friendly. She handed us the keys and then left. The property had 3 separate small rooms connected by a little garden patio. My room with Leo was closest to Ethan and Chloe's. And the first strange event happened less than an hour after we arrived. The person to experience it, ironically, was Chloe herself. Leo and I were unpacking when we heard a terrified, blood-curdling scream from the room next door. We rushed over immediately. When we got there, we found Chloe sitting on the bed, her face buried in her hands, sobbing. Ethan was trying to comfort her. "Let's go home, Ethan. I don't want to stay here. It's too creepy," she cried. We all stood there, confused. She was the one who had begged to stay here, and now she wanted to leave. After she calmed down a bit, she told us what had happened, her voice trembling. She said that while Ethan was in the bathroom, she was resting on the bed. The room had a large glass window covered by a thin curtain. Even though the doors were closed and there was no breeze, the curtain had suddenly lifted on its own. And in that brief moment, Chloe saw a young woman in a white dress standing inside the room, between the window and the curtain. The woman's long hair covered half of her face. The moment lasted only a second or two. When the curtain fell and lifted again, the woman was gone. After hearing her story, we all figured she was just seeing things due to exhaustion from the long drive. Even she started to doubt herself after a while. "Maybe I was just tired from the car ride," she admitted. No one wanted to ruin the vacation. We decided to put it behind us and get ready for the BBQ that evening. That night, we all gathered in the patio area between our rooms, grilling burgers, drinking beer, and laughing. Everything seemed to have gone back to normal. But as people started drinking more, I noticed Chloe began acting strangely. Normally, Chloe was a lightweight. 1 or 2 beers and her face would be flushed. But that night, she was drinking one after another, finishing every bottle. Ethan looked concerned, but Chloe just waved him off and said, "I'm fine." Her voice sounded different, somehow deeper and hoarser than usual. A little while later, her behavior got even weirder. Every time Ethan tried to be affectionate, putting an arm around her or holding her hand, Chloe would violently shove him away, shooting him a look of pure contempt. The final straw was when he leaned in for a kiss, and she slapped him hard across the face, right in front of all of us. We were all stunned. I just assumed she was too drunk and had lost control. A little later, I walked over to a patch of bushes to relieve myself. As I was standing there, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned and saw Chloe standing just a few feet away. In the dim light from the cabin, she was just standing there, staring at me and smiling, a strange, shy, yet inviting smile. "Chloe, what are you doing out here?" I asked, surprised. "You scared me." She didn't answer, just kept staring and smiling. I felt a little awkward and started to walk back to the party. But as I passed her, she reached out and grabbed my hand tightly. "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, pulling my hand away. "Ethan will flip out if he sees this." I quickly walked back to the group. A few moments later, Chloe came back too. She didn't say a word, just sat down and continued to drink, finishing beer after beer without a change in her expression. The party eventually wound down, and everyone started heading to their rooms. Leo and I went back to ours. In the middle of the night, I was in a deep, drunken sleep when I felt a warmth and a gentle caress on my body. At first, in my hazy state, I thought I was dreaming, but the feeling became more and more real. I felt fingers unbuttoning my shirt, then slowly pulling my pants down. I forced my eyes open. Lying next to me, her head resting on my chest, was Chloe. I froze. I wasn't scared. I was in shock. This was my best friend's girlfriend. How could she be doing this? "Chloe." "Are you insane?" I hissed, trying to push her off. But she wouldn't let go. She just held on to me tighter. Finally, with no other choice, I yelled out to my friend sleeping in the other bed, "Leo, wake up, get over here and help me." Leo woke up with a start. The moment he sat up, Chloe finally released me. But she didn't leave. She just sat there on my bed looking at me and smiling that same shy, unnerving smile from earlier. We rushed over to the other room to get Ethan and the others. When all 6 of us were crowded into my small room, Chloe was still sitting there. When she saw me, she tried to lurch forward to grab my hand again. By now, Ethan was furious and heartbroken. "You'd do this to me, Chloe, with my best friend." In all the chaos, only Maya, Chloe's best friend, seemed to keep a level head. "Wait a minute. Everyone," she said, "something is very wrong with her. This isn't like the Chloe I know." Hearing that, I suddenly remembered all the strange things that had happened since we arrived. I stepped forward, looked directly into Chloe's eyes, and asked, "Who are you? Are you Chloe?" The person sitting on the bed, the person wearing Chloe's body, just looked at me, smiled, and then slowly shook her head no. That one small gesture silenced the entire room. The air grew thick and cold. Right after shaking her head, Chloe's body went limp and she collapsed onto the bed, unconscious. When Chloe woke up, she was vomiting violently. She didn't remember anything that happened after she started drinking, didn't know why she was in our room, and had no idea why Ethan was looking at her with such anger and hurt in his eyes. We all stayed up for the rest of that night, too terrified to sleep. The next morning, we knew we had to talk to the owner. We found her watering plants in her garden. She looked calm, almost unsurprised to see 6 sleep-deprived college students at her door. After we recounted the entire horrifying story of the previous night, the owner just sighed. "I see," she said in a steady voice. "You all go on into the kitchen and have some breakfast. This happens sometimes, don't you worry too much. These woods are old. Some souls get a little lost." Her calm demeanor was both baffling and infuriating. "I'll call someone to help," she continued. "She lives down the road, knows about these things. You just eat. She'll be here soon." About 20 minutes later, another elderly woman arrived. She had a weathered look, like someone who spent a lot of time outdoors and wore several stone necklaces. The owner whispered something to her, and then they both came over to us. "Which one is Chloe?" the strange woman asked. Chloe timidly raised her hand. "All right," she said. "You come with me to the room. The rest of you stay here." Chloe was terrified and begged for someone to go with her, but the woman shook her head. "Just you. I need to speak to the spirit. Too many people will scare it off. Don't worry, I'm here." Chloe reluctantly followed the woman back into the bedroom where it had all happened. The door closed. We waited outside anxiously. About 15 minutes later, the door opened. The woman stepped out, her expression calm. "It's done," she said to the owner. "I'm heading home." She then turned to us. "You all should probably pack your things and go. It won't bother the girl anymore." After the woman left, we all crowded around Chloe, asking what happened. She said the woman simply opened all the windows, told her to kneel, and then lit a bundle of sage, walking around the room until it was filled with smoke. She murmured some words Chloe didn't understand, and then said loudly, "This is a guest. This is not a place for you to cause trouble. Leave now, or I will not be so gentle." And that was it. It was all over, just like that. The owner later refunded us for our remaining nights. "I apologize," she said. "I probably should have warned you. But don't think my place is the only one. This whole part of the Catskills has its share of ghost stories. You kids were just unlucky." Her words made us realize something. She knew about the ghost all along. She even had an expert on call for when things went wrong. We probably weren't the first to have our vacation turn into a nightmare. Before we left, Chloe asked the woman one last question. Who was that ghost? The woman looked at Chloe with a sad, knowing look. "Oh, she was a young woman," she explained. "Many years ago, she and her little brother got lost in a blizzard trying to find their way back to this very cabin. They both froze to death out there in the woods. Her spirit lingers, still looking for a friend, for some company in her eternal loneliness. Perhaps because you, child, are also young and beautiful, she felt a connection and wanted to be close." After hearing that, none of us said another word. We quickly packed our bags, got in our car, and left that place as fast as we could. They erased her. This story comes from Ava. She's almost 40 now. She told me about the time she was a young singer in Miami, Florida. She wasn't famous. She was just an amateur singer, performing at city events, tea parties at hotels, or occasionally as an opening act at upscale clubs in South Beach. She was passionate about music, had defied her parents to go to art school, but after 3-4 years of singing and still being unknown, she quit the business and opened a fashion boutique. But in those 3 to 4 short years, she saw enough of the dark side of the entertainment industry. She said the stories about curses and hexes in the business are all true. In Miami, people use Santeria or Palo Mayombe, Caribbean beliefs. A-list singers use it to lock down producers. Younger singers use it to take down the stars. But she's not telling those stories. She's telling what happened to her. That year, Ava was about 23, 24, still pretty naive. She knew another amateur singer named Roxanne, Roxy. Roxy was over 30, much more worldly. One day they went out to eat and Roxy was suddenly feeling generous, treating Ava to an expensive meal. Amateur singers like them made peanuts. A whole night at a club, if you got lucky with tips, might get you a few $100. So Ava was surprised. "Did you land a big gig, Roxy?" Ava asked. "Where'd you get this kind of money?" Roxy scoffed. "You think at my age I'm landing a big stage? No. You don't want to get involved. The money's real, but it's humiliating." "Humiliating how?" "Don't tell me it's escorting. I won't do that." "It's not," Roxy said, "but it's just one step below it. On a good night, you can make $10,000. $10,000. Over a decade ago, that was an unimaginable amount of money. Ava was curious. Roxy explained that in Florida, there's a super exclusive, isolated 5-star resort in the Florida Keys, a few hours' drive from Miami. It's a playground for the ultra-rich, not just regular rich, but tech moguls, real estate tycoons, and maybe even people from South American cartels. Occasionally, they gather there for secret, debaucherous parties. They need singers, but famous ones are hard to book and risky. They'd hire a few A-list stars and then pad the lineup with amateur singers like Ava and Roxy as openers. "You go in there," Roxy warned. "You see nothing, you hear nothing, you say nothing. They take your phone at the gate. If one photo gets out, you disappear from Florida. I'm not kidding. But the money is good." Ava heard this and was scared. She wasn't interested. A few months later, Ava's brother got into gambling debt, owing a few $1,000s. The interest piled up. Ava couldn't make enough singing all month to pay it. She was stressing out when Roxy called. "Hey, remember that resort in the Keys? They're having another party next week. I was going to pass, but my slot is still open. You're in a bind, right? I can give it to you," Roxy added. "I'm telling you straight, the performance fee is just a few $100. The real money is in the tips. You have to wear something very sexy. Those old men will come on stage. They'll grope you, hug you, and stuff money into your bra, into your panties. You have to take it, but in one night, your debt is paid. Ava thought about it all night. Finally, she bit the bullet and agreed. That night, Ava drove to the resort. The place was incredibly isolated. She had to drive down a long private road through 2 security checkpoints. A guard checked her name on a list, took her phone, and then a golf cart drove her to the main party area. It was like a maze. The ballroom was massive, music thumping. Everyone was glamorous and wearing masks covering the top half of their faces. Ava was led backstage. The MC glanced at her. Name? Ava? Okay, you're an opener. You're on at 8:45. You get 30 minutes, don't go over, the A-lister's waiting. She sat backstage for an hour. No one spoke to anyone. Everyone wore their masks, sitting in a corner, either tapping on their phones, internal-only ones they were issued, or sleeping. They were afraid of revealing their identities at such a humiliating gig. Hungry, Ava went to the buffet area. The buffet spread was huge but deserted, the lighting dim. The super rich weren't there to eat. They just wandered, taking a bite of something and dropping it. Ava was getting a small plate when she noticed a girl standing at the far end of the buffet, in a dark corner. This girl was stunning. Ava had to admit it. Perfect figure, perfect hair, wearing an expensive-looking silk slip dress. But she was piling a huge plate high with food. Ava thought, wow, she's gorgeous, but she's not worried about her figure at all. She turned to get a drink, and when she looked back a few minutes later, the girl was gone. But the heaping plate of food was still sitting there. Ava was curious. Why would she leave it? She got closer, looking at the plate. Even in the dim light and the air thick with expensive perfume, Ava could see something was wrong. The food looked spoiled. The noodles looked slimy, the seafood discolored. Just then, a cleaning staff member pushed a cart over. She glanced at Ava, then calmly picked up the spoiled plate, went to the trash, and scraped it all in. Then, she returned to the spot where the plate had been, clasped her hands and muttered a quick prayer for a few seconds before pushing her cart away. Ava's skin crawled. What was that? Why would you pray just for throwing out bad food? She still had 40 minutes before her set. She went to find the restroom. The hallway to the restroom was long and dark, with only dim mood lighting. She pushed open the heavy door to the women's room and was stunned. It was bigger than her apartment. Dozens of marble sinks, fresh flowers everywhere. She hurried into a stall. Just as she sat down, she heard high heels walk in. Clack, clack, clack. The footsteps were extremely slow, heavy, echoing in the silent room. Then she heard singing. A woman's voice, humming, no words, just Ava held her breath. Wow, that voice. It's incredible. She was a singer, she knew. That voice was special. Ava quickly finished and came out. The moment she opened the stall door, the singing stopped. She figured the singer must have left. She walked to the sinks, leaned down to splash water on her face, and looked up into the mirror. And she saw her. It was the beautiful girl from the buffet. She was standing a few sinks down, wearing the same dress. She was just standing still, not fixing her makeup, not washing her hands, staring into the mirror, but not at Ava. Ava was curious. She wanted to see the face of the woman with that angelic voice. She tried to get a look at her face in the mirror, but the girl seemed to intentionally turn away, her long hair shielding her. Ava thought, whatever, I'll see her backstage anyway. She bent down to grab a paper towel, just for 3 seconds, looked up. The girl was gone. The restroom only had one exit. Ava felt a cold chill. A draft of icy air brushed the back of her neck. She hurried out. Back in the wings, she looked around. She didn't see the girl. The other singers sat silently in their corners. Ava sat down, trying to compose herself. About 10 minutes later, she looked up. She saw her. The girl was sitting in an armchair in the darkest corner of the backstage area, her hair fluttering slightly from a fan. This time, Ava could see half her face. Still beautiful, but completely unfamiliar. not a famous singer she recognized. Ava's phone buzzed. She looked down at the message just for 30 seconds, looked up. The chair was empty. This constant appearing and disappearing was starting to terrify Ava. It was her time to perform. She sang 5 or 7 songs in a row to fill the time, waiting for the A-lister to arrive. No one in the audience cared. They talked, laughed, drank. Occasionally, a few old lechers would come up, stuffing $100 bills into her dress, groping her a bit and walking away. She felt humiliated, but she kept singing. On her last song, a slow ballad, she looked out at the crowd in despair, and she saw her. The girl was standing at the back of the hall, separate from the crowd, and she was watching Ava. She was her only audience. Ava was moved. She decided to sing this song for her. She looked directly at the girl, making eye contact, pouring all her emotion into the song. The girl started to move. She glided, weaving through the crowd, approaching the stage. Ava thought, is she coming up to sing a duet? But as the girl got closer to an empty space in front of the stage, Ava noticed something horrifying. The girl was gliding. Her shoulders weren't moving, and when she stopped in the open space under the spill of the stage lights, Ava saw it clearly. The girl was on her tiptoes as if wearing high heels, but her feet were not touching the ground. They were hovering a few inches off the floor. Ava's voice cracked. She was terrified, quickly looked away, and struggled to finish the song. When she dared to look back, the empty space was empty again. She finished her set and ran backstage. She'd made almost $7,000 in tips, enough to pay the debt. She didn't care about networking or meeting producers anymore. She just wanted to get out of there. But it wasn't over. She ran to the golf cart pickup area to get back to the parking lot. It was a kilometer away. There were no drivers. She waited for 5 minutes, panicking. Fine, she thought, I'll walk. She bent down, took off her high heels, holding them. She had just started walking barefoot. She heard a desperate cry behind her. Ava, help me, Ava. She turned. It was the girl, but she wasn't beautiful anymore. She was crawling on the ground. Her silk dress was torn and matted with blood. Her hair was a mess, her body covered in bruises, as if she'd been tortured. She was crawling toward Ava, holding out a hand. Ava, help me. They were so cruel. They killed me. They hid my body in here. Help me. Ava froze. She knew it was a ghost, but the sight was so tragic. But then the spirit looked up. It was the same furious, bulging eyes. Ava screamed, dropped her shoes, and ran for her life. She ran down the dark pavement, muttering prayers under her breath. The pleading cry echoed behind her. Ava, don't leave me. Help me. They raped me. They killed me. Ava! She could hear the shuffling, dragging sound of crawling, keeping pace right behind her. She didn't dare look back. She ran desperately all the way to the parking lot, where, thank God, the security guard was still there. Sir, help me, a ghost! She hid behind him. What is it, miss? Ava looked back. Nothing was there. The guard sighed. The singers who perform here, I've seen plenty. Just get in your car, go home. Don't say anything. Ava got in her car and drove like hell back to Miami. The next morning, she told Roxy. Roxy wasn't surprised. I've heard stories from other singers. Some hear singing in the toilets. Some see a girl crying blood backstage. One girl said she was singing and saw her sitting in the audience screaming. Who was she? Ava asked. I don't know, Roxy said. Probably some young, pretty singer who caught the eye of the wrong bastard. He probably was high, got too violent, and accidentally killed her. And those rich pricks, they erased her. Ava said she searched online, looking for any information about a missing singer. But there was nothing. Not one news article, not one post. As if the girl had never existed. See? Roxy said. We don't even know her name. You think anyone would believe you? Just stay quiet and stay alive. After that, Ava quit the business. She said that world was too terrifying. A place where a human life could be erased like a plate of spoiled food, and their soul left trapped, forever begging for help in vain. The Odd-Numbered Room. This story comes from Mike. At the time, his company was holding a company retreat over a holiday weekend. Instead of the whole company going, they split up by department. Mike's group, the sales department, 15 guys in total, decided to go to Estes Park, Colorado, right by the Rocky Mountain National Park. In their group, there was this one guy named David. He was a really sympathetic character, scrawny, frail, always seemed to be catching a cold, and incredibly timid. In a group of 15 men, David naturally became the target of every joke. Even before they left, the teasing started. "Hey David, remember to bring garlic with you to Estes Park. A guy as frail as you, a mountain ghost might just carry you off." David would just give a weak laugh. The more they teased him, the more he'd try to do the opposite. If they told him to bring garlic, he'd rather die than be caught with it, knowing they'd tease him even more. The group rented a 15-passenger van. On the way up, the jokes continued. "Hey David, don't sit by the window. You might see a ghost waving from a cliff on the mountain pass." They got to Estes Park in the late afternoon. Since it was a holiday weekend, all the main hotels were booked or absurdly expensive. They ended up renting rooms at an old lodge tucked away in a canyon, no elevator, just several flights of stairs. Since there were 15 guys, an odd number, they booked 2 big rooms. One room for 8, 4 double beds, and one for 7, 3 double beds and a single. And of course, David got the single bed in the 7-person room. Rick, the boss, was the first to point it out. "Oh boy," Rick said, clapping David on the back. "Our room has 8, an even number. Your room has 7, an odd number. You know what they say about staying in an odd-numbered room, right? By the morning, it'll become even." The guys all laughed. Rick piled on. "So, everyone's paired up. Who's sleeping alone? David? Oh, you're screwed, David." David just looked confused. "Why, Rick?" "When you sleep, make sure you lie right in the middle of the bed," Rick winked. "Why do I have to sleep in the middle?" "Because if you sleep on the left side, someone's going to be sleeping on your right. If you sleep on the right, someone's going to be on your left." "Huh? Who's sleeping next to me? Are you Rick?" "Hell no, a female ghost, you idiot." Everyone roared with laughter. That's just the kind of guy David was. The first night. After checking in, the group walked around Estes Park and had a big dinner. But by the time they walked back to the lodge and climbed all those stairs, they were exhausted. It was around 11 p.m. and everyone was suddenly hungry again. But nobody had the energy to go all the way back downtown to get food. They all decided to just starve and go to bed. Mike was in the same 7-man room as David. About an hour later, Mike was drifting off when he heard the door creak, the sound of an old dry hinge. Mike opened his eyes and saw David standing by the door in his boxers. "What are you doing, David? You're not going out for food now, are you?" "No," David whispered. "I heard someone knocking. It was urgent, like bang, bang, bang. I thought maybe Rick's room next door had a problem." "You're crazy," Mike mumbled. "I'm right by the door. I didn't hear anything. Go to sleep." David looked into the empty hallway, confused, and shuffled back to bed. Half an hour later, knock, knock, knock. David shot up again and ran to the door. Again, no one. This happened 3 or 4 times. Mike was getting pissed. "It's just Rick messing with you, man. Go to sleep." "But how's he so fast?" David argued. "I heard the knock and opened the door immediately. His room is 15 feet away. How could he run back and get in his room that fast?" "I don't care. Just go to bed." The next morning at breakfast, David was exhausted. "Man, someone must have checked in really late. I heard footsteps in the hall all night. High heels, men's boots, luggage being dragged. It was so loud. I didn't get to sleep until 3 or 4 a.m. The group was laughing at him, but then Rick, the boss, overheard. "Check in. What are you talking about? I already told you guys. I booked the last 2 rooms on the top floor. This is the attic level. It's just our 2 rooms up here. There's nowhere else for anyone to go. No one is checking in up here." David insisted, "But I heard it, Rick. It sounded like a whole tour group. They were even banging on the walls." The whole table went quiet, goosebumps rising. Mike turned to the boss. "Rick, seriously? Did anyone from your room knock on our door last night to mess with David?" "No," Rick said, looking serious. I told them to ease up. We were all exhausted and passed out. Everyone else from the other room shook their heads. "Oh man, David," Mike said. "What if you actually heard a ghost?" David just waved his hand. He was timid, but he was also a devout Catholic. He always wore a crucifix around his neck and didn't really believe in ghosts. "Nonsense," David said. "Someone must have just gotten lost on the wrong floor. That's all." The second night. Learning their lesson, the 7 guys in the room decided to stop at a convenience store. They bought 7-cup noodles to keep in the room. At first, David refused. "I'm not hungry. You guys just buy 6. Dude, just get 1. We're not going to listen to you complain when you smell us cooking." Sure enough, at 11 p.m., the hot water was running, and the smell of ramen filled the cold Estes Park air. "Okay, make me 1 too," David finally admitted. The other 6 guys devoured theirs. David, with his small appetite, only ate about half his cup and set it aside. The trash can in the room was tiny. It couldn't hold 7 cups. "Just stack the empty ones by the door," Mike said. "Leave David's on its own. It's still half full." That night, everyone slept soundly. No footsteps, no knocking. The next morning, Mike was the one cleaning up. He gathered the 6 stacked empty cups. But when he looked at David's cup, it was spotless. Not a single noodle, no broth, the little bits of sausage. Gone. "David," Mike yelled, "did you get hungry and eat it last night? Man, that's gross. It was probably swollen up like a sponge by then." "Are you crazy?" David yelled back from the bathroom. "I ate half and left it. I'm not eating that leftover trash." "Well, if you didn't eat it, who did? It's completely clean." The whole group gathered around. The teasing started all over again. "Come on, David, it's okay to be hungry. You don't have to sneak eat your old noodles." David turned red, screaming, "I'm telling you I didn't eat it. Stop messing with me." For the rest of the day, David was the butt of the joke. At lunch, "Eat up, David. Don't save it for a midnight snack." He was furious, but no one believed him. The third and final night, the group got back late, exhausted. No one bothered with food. They all just collapsed into bed. In the middle of the night, Mike and the entire room were jolted awake by David screaming. But it wasn't a scream for help. It was a scream of Latin and desperate prayers. "Sancta Maria Mater Dei? Jesus Christ, help me!" Mike flipped on the lights. The scene was terrifying. David was huddled in the corner of the room. He had yanked his crucifix off his neck so hard, it left a red welt. He was holding the cross out with both hands, aiming it at the wardrobe in the corner. "Go! Get out! In Jesus' name, go!" He was sobbing, completely hysterical. The group looked at the wardrobe, and there, under the leg, was the half-eaten mess of noodles and sausage from the night before. It was now spoiled, swollen, and smelled sour. The ghost hadn't eaten it. It had hidden it, and now it had brought it back. "David!" Mike ran over. "What did you see?" It was eating the ghost. The thing was eating it, David babbled. The group was so scared, they grabbed David and ran to Rick's room. All 15 grown men crammed into the 8-person room, locking the door. When David finally calmed down, he told them, he woke up to the sound of chewing, loud, wet, sloppy chewing. He thought his friends were eating snacks without him. He looked around. All 6 were in their beds, asleep. The chewing was coming from the corner by the wardrobe. He looked closely. There was a woman wearing a thick wool sweater and a knit cap, squatting, facing the wardrobe. She was picking something up off the floor and eating it. David, still not believing in ghosts, thought a guest had wandered into the wrong room. He got up and walked closer. "Excuse me, ma'am, are you in the wrong room?" The woman kept eating. David got closer, about 3 or 4 feet away. When he asked again, the woman stopped chewing. She kept her body perfectly still, squatting, and rotated her head 180 degrees to face him. What David saw was not a face. It was smooth skin, no eyes, no nose, no mouth, and smeared all over that blank, faceless surface was the soggy, spoiled ramen and bits of sausage. It wasn't eating the noodles, it was wearing them. David said he had never believed in ghosts his entire life. But seeing that, he snapped. He fell backward, ripping the crucifix from his neck, and just crab-walked backward toward his bed, screaming and praying. This time, no one dared to say David was lying. All 15 men stayed awake, crammed in that one room until sunrise. The next morning, they checked out and drove straight home without looking back. The Empty Coffin. My name is Holly, and this story isn't about me. It's about the woman who used to live next door, a woman this town will never forget. Our small town in Louisiana is a very traditional place. Everyone knows everyone else, and the old founding families are held in high regard. My neighbors, the Duvals, were one of those families. They were a large clan, making up nearly half the town. Most of them were successful, doctors, lawyers, even the town sheriff. In a respectable and strict family like that, there was no room for error, except for one person, Clara Duval. In her youth, Clara was the town's beauty queen. She had a breathtaking beauty, but as the old saying goes, beauty and tragedy often walk hand in hand. Her looks made her proud and complacent. She didn't strive for an education or a career like her cousins did. Clara's teenage years were a storm of rebellion. She dated boys her family disapproved of. Whispers and jealous gossip began to spread, even among her own relatives. They called her wild, a stain on the family's good name. But the more they tried to control her, the more reckless she became. The breaking point came when she was 17. She got pregnant. The Duval family, desperate to protect their reputation, demanded she get an abortion. But out of love for her unborn child, Clara did the unthinkable. She ran away with her boyfriend, a good-for-nothing from the wrong side of the tracks. She was gone for over a decade. By the time Clara returned, I was just a little girl. She came back a widow after her abusive husband died in a car crash. With her were 2 children, the son she had run away to protect, Dylan, now about 14, and a younger daughter named Leah. Clara confessed to her family that her life for the past decade had been a living hell, filled with beatings and bitterness. The Duval family, though displeased, took her back in. But she and her children were treated as outcasts by the rest of the clan. Dylan, especially, was seen as a living symbol of his mother's shame. He was often ordered around and treated cruelly by his uncles and aunts. One day, Dylan, now 15, came home and told his mother he wanted to get a job on a shrimp boat. He wanted to earn money for a new bike, but deep down, he just wanted to escape the oppressive, judgmental atmosphere of the house. Clara, seeing that her son's life at home was already a kind of misery, thought that leaving might be his only escape. She agreed. She had no idea it would be the most tragic mistake of her life. In the week leading up to Dylan's departure, Clara began to have nightmares. The first dream, she saw her dead husband return. He threw a ceramic bowl at her head and screamed, "Are you crazy? Dylan can't swim. You let him go out on the ocean, you're sending him to his death." Clara jolted awake, and when she reached up to her head, she felt a real, painful lump forming right where the bowl had hit her in the dream. The second dream, a few nights later, her husband appeared again. This time, he grabbed her by the hair, shoved her head into a basin of water, and roared the same warning. She woke up gasping for air, and the next morning, the back of her neck was covered in dark bruises that looked exactly like fingerprints. The final dream. The night before Dylan was set to leave, The nightmare was at its most terrifying. Her husband appeared and slapped her across the face over and over. This time, he delivered a chillingly specific prophecy. He'll be crossing from one boat to another to get some food. A wave will hit, he'll slip and fall in, and no one will even notice. His funeral is going to be an empty casket. Clara woke up to find her entire face swollen, as if she'd been physically beaten. In a panic, she went to find Dylan to stop him, but it was too late. The boat had left earlier than scheduled. 2 weeks later, the terrible news arrived. The captain of the shrimp boat came to the house. The story he told matched the ghostly prophecy to the letter. While 2 boats were tied together to trade supplies, Dylan had volunteered to walk across the connecting plank. A sudden large wave rocked the boats, and he slipped and fell into the narrow gap of churning water between them. By the time anyone realized he was missing, Dylan was gone, lost to the sea. They never found his body. Dylan's funeral was held with an empty casket. Clara was completely broken. She had the empty coffin buried next to the grave of her abusive husband. Every day she would go to the cemetery and cry until she fainted. And every time she fainted, her husband would appear in her dreams, beating her and screaming, "Where is my son? You have to find him for me." Desperate, Clara began to pray. Not to God, but to the spirit of her dead husband. She cried at his grave, begging, "I know I was wrong. I'm sorry. Please, if you have any power, find our son. Please bring him home." After days of this, she had one last dream. Her husband beat her again, but then he said, "In 2 days, the boat named the Bayou Spirit will come to port. They have found him. Go and get our son." Clara woke up. Despite the pain all over her body, she ran to the docks and waited. For 2 days she sat there, and on the second day, a shrimp boat named the Bayou Spirit sailed into the harbor. The fishermen told a strange story. They had been pulling up their nets when a massive, unusual school of fish swarmed their boat. Thinking it was a sign, they cast their nets one last time. Inside that net, along with the fish, was a human skeleton. The remains were confirmed to be Dylan's. A dark miracle had occurred. The whole town was abuzz. The spirit of the abusive husband had, in his own violent way, fulfilled his duty as a father. Another service was held, and Dylan's bones were finally laid to rest inside his coffin. You would think the story ends there, but Clara's torment was just beginning. A few weeks after the second burial, she had one final soul-crushing dream. In it, she saw both her husband and her son standing before her. But Dylan was no longer her 15-year-old boy. He was a waterlogged corpse, his body bloated and torn apart by fish, his face a mangled ruin with only one eye left to stare at her. Then, the corpse of her son spoke, asking a question that shattered what was left of her soul. "Mom, why didn't you stop me? Why did you let me die like that?" That dream destroyed her. She couldn't bear to live, but she couldn't bring herself to die. A few days before she vanished, she came to my house and told my mother this entire story. She said she couldn't face her family, couldn't face her own guilt. Then, one night after the final prayers for Dylan were said, Clara quietly took her young daughter, Leah, and disappeared. For the second time in her life, she ran away from it all, leaving behind the graves of her husband and son, and a sorrow that could never be healed. No one in our town ever saw her or her daughter again.